Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Formscan on IrishRacing.com. Big week this week, Royal Ascot, and I'm delighted to be joined each day by Tanya Stevenson to preview the day ahead. So we're starting off on day one. Tanya got the declarations in yesterday. It's always probably one of the best weeks in racing, but I think the first 2 days are looking very exciting from what we know so far. Looking forward to it.
Oh, you can't not, can you? It's just so brilliant. And now some form lines will interlock, and we'll get to see the matches or the races that we want. Certain horses have turned up against one another. The St James's Palace Stake brings together all the Guineas winners. We'll see how strong the Lockinge form is. And we're going to see some of the 2-year-olds meet each other, and I'm really excited for that as well.
Yeah, looking forward to now, I suppose. But we'll dive straight into it. We're going to try and keep these shows a little bit shorter than normal because we're going all week. So we'll start off with the first race today, the 2:30, the Queen Anne. And I suppose, like this time last week, we were probably expecting softer ground. There was kind of a mixed forecast for Ascot, but the rain doesn't seem to have come as much as was expected. And I think that's going to affect a few of these in here in the Queen Anne. There's 14 declared. It's going to have a big effect on Big Rock. I think the French challenger, he definitely wants more of a cut. Sharon, the runner-up in the Lockinge, like you mentioned there, in there at 130, and we've got the winner of the Lockinge as well, Audience. He got his own way in front that day, drawn out wide in stall 14. Will he do it again? Tanya, what's your opinion on this one?
Yeah, you say he's drawn out wide. That won't bother him, as it proved in the Lockinge. She was fine racing against himself and at some speed as well. And I think Robert Haviland's been really keen to say, don't treat that race as a fluke, and perhaps rightly so. Sharon chased after Audience, and the difference is this time around is we're going to potentially see Royal Scotsman. What is Royal Scotsman's going to do? Different part of the track, which is interesting because, as you mentioned, one's in stall 14, one's in stall 2. But Royal Scotsman won't necessarily lead. He might not decide to do that. But do you really want to test whether Audience Run is a fluke or not? Do you really want? It could be absolutely fabulous, this. It could set it up for the French. They haven't just got the one runner, Big Rock. Obviously, lots have been said about Big Rock. As you said, when you watch back his run in October, which really resonates with us all, it was a monstrous, phenomenal run. He just galloped further and further clear. Watch that race carefully again, because also in the race was the other French challenger, in fact, Chabot, who didn't really get a run at all. Not that he would ever have got anywhere near on that day to Big Rock. He didn't get a run, and he got boxed in. And when he was extricated out to have his run, he managed to pick up Tahira, which was quite impressive in its own right, because that was a separate race. Big Rock was a phenomenon, separate race. Factor Chabot showed the acceleration. Now, if Audience does go out in front, a horse that I really do love is Factor Cheval. I think one of the rides of the season was Factor Cheval against Paddington at Goodwood, where he was ridden for a place, and realising the enormity and the prowess of Paddington. And he just brilliantly accelerated, quite surprisingly. In the end, perhaps they will ruin the fact that they rode Factor Cheval for a place. Now, you come into this race and you just want tons and tons of Group 1 status behind you, as it's proved in previous years. And I'm not saying Audience hasn't got that. Audience now has that with that brilliant run in the Lockinge. I am so massively behind Factor Cheval. I think you can tell that because, unlike Big Rock, he's not ground dependent, Factor Cheval. In fact, he's so versatile, he can run on both. He's got a brilliant draw in stall 7. Maxime Guillon will just probably try and find a little pocket to hide him behind, and then will hopefully have the ability to utilise his finishing kick. The problem is for everyone is, who do they follow? Do they follow Royal Scotsman, hoping he's going to trap out, or do they follow Audience? I'm pretty sure that they'll use the same tactics on Audience. Look what last year, with leading all the way with Neil Callan on Triple Time, that just was away and gone. And I think the same. If there is a surprise package in the race, there's going to be plenty. It could well be Maljoon, who was unlucky a couple of years ago in Royal Ascot, but this is a different type of race. This is just like this is a mile sprint, if that's possible. So I'm quite surprised that Sharon is shorter than Audience, because if it's not a fluke, then there's no way Sharon's going to get to audience. But I think I'll go with the French Factor Cheval here.
The French challenge looks strong. In fact, a strong shout there from Tanya. I'm going to take a small chance on Royal Scotsman here. I think, like you said, probably not guaranteed that he will bounce out and make all, but I was really, really taken by that performance in Epsom. I suppose nearly forget how good he was at 2. He disappointed a few times last year, disappointed in the St. James's Palace, but that change of tactics just seemed to turn him inside out at Epsom. 16-1. Look, I'm probably willing to take the chance to see was it a fluke or not. I think, look, it's fascinating, like you said, the pace angle of both sides of the track. But I think if Royal Scotsman can get to the lead again, he should be right up there around 16-1. I'll take that chance. But a strong shout there from Factor Cheval from Tanya. But we'll go on to the 305, the Coventry. Looks like the battle of the O'Briens in this one, on prices anyway. Aidan has Camille Pissarro, who he has spoken favourably recently, and Coward of the County, I thought was really, really impressive, winning his Curragh Maiden. That form has been franked pretty strongly since. Tanya, look, these are 2-year-olds. We don't know a whole pile about them, but is there anything in here that caught your eye particularly?
Yeah, staying away from those two. Mind you, I will mention them because of the Parthenon having won recently, and that's kind of further factored into Camille Pissarro's line of form, because the Parthenon, I think, was 5th, where Camille Pissarro was 2nd, and that looks a lovely animal. I want to go and find a little bit of value in this race, because I think you can do. You don't necessarily have to seek out picking on Coward of the County or Camille Pissarro. You might want to mix it up in forecast. You might want just to have a place only or an each way. And I'm liking Star Anthem, a Clive Cox runner in this race. It should be a fair price. Clive's won this race before with a horse that was, I think, 150-1 in Nagle Prado. However, Star Anthem, I don't think would have been so much a surprise in this. Star Anthem, first time up, ran nicely, finishing 2nd to a horse called Hawaiian, and was not kind of phased or put off. He just ran a race that you could, an established race you can build on. But what he did show was some immense speed, and it was whether you're going to use that speed and going much shorter, or whether you're going to try and expand it. Next time out, goodness me, Star Anthem went off from the front in a way that the amount of pace shown, you thought that at some point, oh, they're going to come back, and they didn't. And he had lots more to give. A horse that was 2nd in the race was a horse called Red Sand, who has subsequently come out and won equally impressive at Goodwood. So going by the fact that he should improve a little bit more still, I'd note here that Star Anthem's drawn in stall 17, kind of a nice draw. He's one of those horses that I'd expect that can keep going. And if the O'Brien horses are too good, Joseph's and Aidan, fair enough. I just think Star Anthem will be there in the mix towards the end. It might be 3rd, it might be 2nd, it might be win. But when you see him in the paddock, if you're watching on TV or when you're sort of watching at home, he is big and sort of broad, and his front chest is strong, and I just think that will suit that relentless, real, like it's more like a 5 furlong, real 4 furlong gallop this race, and he can cope with that.
Very good. Yeah, we can see big price horses popping off at Ascot as well. Yeah. Like you said, can't be afraid to take a chance on them. Look, I was really impressed by Coward of the County, just to give him a mention here. I think that his 2-year-old form when he won at the Curragh is probably as strong as you might find from a maiden anyway. At least he beat Whistlejacket there. Whistlejacket went out and franked that next time in the first flyer. Yeah, I think, look, Joseph has said he's probably hasn't been your typical kind of early 2-year-old, even though he did win quite early on in the season. He's a big kind of strapping horse, and I think he said he's going to train him to improve, so he should step up on that again. So look, he I think he's deserved of his place at the top of the market. But like you said, some other ones here at big prices, Clive Cox's Star Anthem. A nice shout there from Tanya. But we'll go on to the 345, which is the King Charles III Stakes. Previously the King Stand, change of name for this one. I suppose Big Evs is the obvious starting point here. The standout 2-year-old sprinter last year. He was good on a reappearance then at York. Tanya, look, I suppose he's bet of the week for a lot of people. I've been seeing him put up. Are you strong on him?
I am strong on him, and when he won after York, I backed him, and I backed him again yesterday when he was sort of when the declarations came through. I just think now he's the full package in the respect of that York run really installed confidence in many people. It wasn't the race was a listed race, but it was kind of a project to see whether you could restrain his pace. And Tom Marquand rode a brilliant race on him and kind of held him up. And then he came through beautifully. I don't want to be really mean. This is not the strongest of King Stands that we've seen. Not the strongest. So it's kind of, it suits him more and more. He's got to take on the likes of Regional, who's a brilliant animal. He won the Sprint Cup, and he also has entries at the weekend. So if he runs well, I can see him running on Saturday as well. You've got the Australian Challenger who run nicely, but it didn't kind of knock you sideways to think, oh my goodness me, he's the automatic winner of the King Charles III Stakes. Big Eves has everything. He was so impressive here last year. He sort of went to America and he won in America. That was just so brilliant. And then to come, and you think sometimes they're very precocious and they just won't show it again this time around. Okay, there'll be stats borne out to say that 3-year-olds records in this race, but he's different. He's a power package. Now, if there is going to be one surprise, I know the stable form is rotten at the moment, but there's a horse in this race that knows how to run his race, and he's got Ryan Moore on board. It is Henry Candy's Twilight Calls. He's been in 2 really strong renewals of this race. He was second to Nature Strip, and then of course he was 4th last year. He was really, really unlucky last year. If there is one to come out of the pack and scare Big Eves, who better than Ryan Moore on Twilight Calls? And how ironic should Henry Candy come out of a quiet spell with a winner at Royal Ascot? That would, with all horses, Twilight Calls is generally unlucky. But no, in reality, yes, my main selection would be Big Eves. You can't really knock him. There isn't really bursting Group 1 form to beat him here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. He's very hard to oppose, even at 5-2. Doesn't really look too bad a price about him. If I was going to pick one, maybe who might be an each way shout for me, it might be Valiant Force. Obviously, a massive price winner at the Royal Meeting last year. I think 150 to 1 when winning as a 2-year-old. He doesn't have an awful lot to find, I suppose, with Big Eves on that run in Santa Anita. I don't expect him to beat him, but I think he could be up in the mix. Around 14 to 1 mightn't be a bad price for him at all. But I think we're both pretty strong on Big Eves there. For Mick Appleby and Tom Marquand, could be one of the bets of the week at Ascot, I would say. But we'll go on to the St. James's Palace. Kind of gave this a quick mention earlier on. What a cracker this is. We've got Guineas winners in here. We've got Henry Longfellow. The ground, I was kind of hoping for a bit more rain. I was kind of a fan of Henry Longfellow, but the ground's coming up maybe a little bit quicker than I would have liked for him. But I suppose to start on notable speed, 11 to 10 favourite. A brilliant winner of the Guineas. Maybe a surprise that day, but it's very, very hard to knock what he did on the day. He was travelled powerfully throughout the whole race and looks definitely like the one they all have to catch up to here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been doing my stats. You might be able to see highlighter pens for when the Guineas winners met each other. And obviously on some occasions, the horse that won the 2,000 Guineas won the race at the RS 2,000 Guineas as well. Yeah, I get that. Notable speech, as you mentioned, so impressive. And I don't think we expected that. And no doubt lots and lots of people are giddy over Brasalian, and I don't blame them because that's gone on Frank the Form, but picked up the wonderful stable companion. And I feel a little bit sorry that Hartem isn't in here as well to do battle once more. I think there's no doubt an enormous amount of improvement to come from Notable Speech, and the way that everyone's speaking is trying to find a way to beat him, and that generally means you can't. But the Hannons will be absolutely buoyant that they've got a chance to beat him. I've gone through the times when the RS 2000 Guineas winner and Newmarkets had met one another in the recent years since 2000. They've done it 6 times. The score is 3-3. So good luck in trying to split that one up again. But I just think the Notable Speech had that acceleration and was really good. Now throw into the mix the French 2000 Guineas winner, and they haven't had a great record, not since Charmadale. Charmadale was the last French 2000 Guineas to win this in 2005. Then you have to go back 25 years to Sendawa, and those two names just jump out at you. They were sensations before they went into the St James's Palace, whereas Metropolitan just doesn't really as yet shout out at you. That's nothing, no slant on him, but he's got to, I don't think he's got the power. He's got this acceleration, but by then they'll be gone, the likes of Notable Speech and Rosallion. I think it's a rematch all over again, and it'll just be a carbon copy of the 2000 Guineas.
Notable Speech not for catching then, so in the St James's Palace. I'm hoping Henry Longfellow can step up. I would have liked more cut on the ground for him, though. I'd say if the rain came a bit more, would have helped his chances. And it looks like a tough ask there to beat Notable Speech. He was the surprise in the Guineas, but will be no surprise if he backs it up here in the St James's Palace. But we'll just to wrap up the rest of the day, we're going to do the last three races at a glance. So Tanya, I'll go to you first. In the handicaps, and there's a listed race in there as well. Is there anything else catching your eye?
I've had a look through the handicaps. Obviously, standing out maybe Anna's favourite in the 505. Many people are on Zandabad, and I get that. So unlucky in the Chester Cup, caught the eye. But can I throw out another one at a really, really big price? I'm quite surprised by the price, actually, in that 505. I'm going to go for Divine Comedy. Won very, very easily at Haydock. Kaya Fraser's ridden Divine Comedy on 10 occasions, won 5 of those 10 occasions, including at Haydock last time out. And I just think that the horse has still got enormous improvement. And the way, though, that the favourite has to be ridden, Zandabad, it has to come through trouble. So I sense there's going to be another unlucky story, whereas Divine Comedy, you can kick that on from turning from a home, or it has to be run to the fore. So your excuse isn't that you're going to find trouble in running, you're going to be out and you just might not be good enough. And Kaya Fraser is allowed to claim his £5 off, and it's got no weight at all, and it's going to be out in front. And that's for me in the 505, the Ascot Stakes. That's a right bonus, and Kaya's riding so well at the moment. It's great to see, and I was sort of so pleased, fingers crossed it was riding, and he is, so that's great. Looking at some of the other races in the 540 Wolverton Stakes, I'm looking at Astro King. That outbox race has proved to work out really, really well. And Astro King, a previous Cambridgeshire winner, was 4th in that race. The 5th in the race has already come out and won. Astro King will be suited to running Ascot, and dropping down the 2 furlongs will accentuate the speed that he possesses. That will be the 540. And in the last race, I was looking at Party Central, because that's got a really, really high hurdle mark. And at the moment, the flat mark bears no relation to the hurdle mark. And I'm thinking that's handy, because that's got to level up somehow. The flat mark is so far below, where you do your formula. So I'd go with Party Central. And you expect Jamie to ride a winner at the Ascot, but Party Central's probably got a little bit of hand. But out of the 3, I'd have to say in the handicaps, Divine Comedy.
Divine Comedy in the 505, that was as well. Yeah, so Gordon Elliott's yard in good form, like you mentioned. Party Central doubling down Patrick yesterday. How that will translate to Royal Ascot, I'm not sure, but hopefully a big one, and hopefully a double on the day for Jamie Spencer after he wins on Royal Scotsman as well. But I think A Piece of Heaven is a standout here as well in the Copper Horse handicap. Obviously, changing yards so close to a race like this probably isn't ideal, but he's just looked so progressive in his last 2 runs. Won at Dundalk there back in December, but won a Lady Riders Amateur Handicap in Leopardstown last time, a runaway winner. I'd say he's just improving head over heels. A rating of 101 might not be enough to stop him here. Change of yard, maybe a slight worry, but you'd be hoping that Joseph will have him right for the day. Obviously, Willie always has a good few in there as well. Beloco eye-catching, really, really impressive winner in Punchestown Maiden Hurdle. I think, was it rated 107 last time we saw him on the flat, and back down to a rating of 100 here. It's definitely eye-catching. And you mentioned Zandabad was another one. Maybe not as nice a price as your one in the in the Ascot Stakes, but definitely massive eye catcher in that Chester Cup last time. I think only up £2 for that effort. So you'd imagine he's probably still fairly well handicapped and could give Catty O'Leary a big Royal Ascot winner. But I think we'll wrap it up there. Before you finish up each day, we will try and give a nap of the day, Tanya. I have a feeling we might have the same one today, but I'll go to you first.
No, I mean, obviously, I would probably have something like Big E's as the nap of the day, but I'm not. I'm going to go with a big, not big outsider in the handicaps. I'll go with Kaya Fraser's Divine Comedy. I just think it should be able to reach the frame. It'd be out in front, and if it gets a beat, it's just probably because it's just literally gone that little bit too fast. But out in front, all the trouble can happen behind, and they'll have some unlucky stories, but he won't be unlucky because he loves running from the front.
An 18-1 nap of the day on day one for Royal Ascot would be a good way to get the week started. I'm going to keep it a bit more simple. I'm going to go for Big Evs. I think he's going to be really, really hard to beat. But we'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much, Tanya. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back with day 2 on Tuesday evening to preview the rest of the action. But if you're having a bet, make sure to gamble responsibly. And thanks for tuning in.